What's up, guys? This video shows and describes how 3 top amateur racers are braking after gate drops and into and through corners, doing rollers and using the right gear and the clutch. Also, how one of these top racers is using the wrong technique with their body positions and movements in every corner. You'll also see some 40 rider gate drops and much more. These 3 top amateur racers are Chance Hymas, Julien Beaumer, excuse my lack of French, pun intended, and Casey Cochran. You'll also see Danger Boy, Haiden Deegan. This video footage is from the Underground Spring National in 2022. By the way, in 23, Hymas and Deegan signed with factory Honda and Yamaha. Beaumer and Cochran have 1 more year as amateurs. Cochran is still with Husqvarna. Beaumer went from Yamaha to Husqvarna. These 4 racers are in the next generation of top motocross and supercross talent. Let's see what we can learn from them. I think braking is overlooked on starts, but it is very important, of course, because the guys are coming into the first corner as fast as they can go, and at some point they have to start braking, and that point is about right in here. They go from accelerating to braking to funnel through this first sweeping corner. Now you'll notice that the guy in the lead especially is drift sliding into the corner. The guy right beside him on his left was also. Of course, they're using the front and rear brakes to control that speed to get into and through that funnel into the first corner. The leader almost falls down to the inside here, but he gets on the power and comes out of it. Now in this start, same type of thing. The guys are going as fast as they can until they get to the braking point. You notice right in here is going to be the braking point from accelerating to braking. And you'll see 4 of these guys across the front drift sliding into the corner using the front and rear brakes. See that drift slide? Keep up their speed, but control their direction to keep from running into each other and getting through that first corner. Okay, we'll see what Chance Hymas, number 21, is doing into this corner with the brakes. He's coming in, using the brakes. You'll see pretty soon that his foot is up off the foot peg using the rear brake. Of course, he is using the front brake, but you can't see it because of his rock guard. But there you can see the foot peg. His foot's up off the peg using the rear brake. Again, he's still on the rear brake, using the front brake too, I'm sure. And right here you see his knee is tight against the shroud, using the rear brake until he pulls the trigger. You can see here that Chance is on the balls of his feet. And you notice right there, he comes up off of the foot pegs, which is okay. You can see the rear brake up there. Now, he gets back on the arch of his foot to get on the rear brake, so when he lands, he can be on the brakes, front and rear brakes. Pretty hard to get that speed scrubbed down to the amount he wants. Then he can control the brakes the rest of the way into the corner. You're going to notice right here, he's kind of drift sliding a little bit, which is not good because there's a rut right here. And then, you can see he's still using the rear brake because his foot is up off the foot peg all the way to the corner. But right there, he gets kicked pretty hard. And I think his rebound dampening on his shock is too slow. That can cause the bike to kick like that. And it could have been a crash, but instead it's just a little bobble. right here, there's not much braking going on. The soft ground and bumps will slow you down, and he needs a little bit of power to get over that dragon back. Okay, here's another similar corner. And now watch him get kicked right there. Again, that's that slow rebound dampening, I think. But you're going to notice how long he stays on the brakes in this corner. Right here, he's braking, starting his braking. See, he's on the rear brake. I'm sure he's on the front brake as well. You'll see that here pretty soon. And right there, you can plainly see still on the rear brake. Foot is up off the foot peg, knee against the shroud. And look up, you can see he's on the front brake as well. And still, I mean, he's almost ready to pull the trigger. He's still on the rear brake. This is how long these guys are using the rear brake through the corner and front brake if needed. This is because they're carrying a lot of speed into and through the corner. They have to continue to control the speed with the brakes until they get on the clutch and throttle. And right there, he finally comes off of the rear brake as he starts to accelerate out of the corner. Okay, young man, control your testosterone. The rev limiter while airborne is a little over the top. This is where the mayhem began, right there. I don't know why this guy crossed more over to the inside. He should have just kept going straight right there. If anything, moved over a little bit to the outside to hold the guys off from coming in on him. But when he did that, it forced this guy to quickly move to the left. And the guy behind him got his front wheel taken out. If someone's rear wheel comes across and hits your front wheel, you're going down. When the rollers are big and far apart, it's not possible to keep your rear wheel on the ground. So best you can do is jump with your front end high and get that rear wheel back down as soon as possible. These obviously are far apart, so he has to jump with his front wheel high. Make that rear wheel tire contact as soon as possible and get the drive forward. These rollers are a little different length and height, so he adjusts and kind of gets the launch out of the last one. This is a good deep roller section where you're going to see Julien and Casey Cochran going through here. You see Beaumer is getting a good drive, dropping that rear wheel in to get traction through the roller to keep driving them forward. And the main thing, another thing you want to do when you're doing these rollers is getting your front wheel to go just over the top of the next one. Now if they're too far apart you can't do that, but it looks like in these they are able to do that. Get that drive through and then get their front wheel just over the top of the next roller. Here's Casey Cochran on his 125. You know, you got to rev these small bikes to get the power out of them. But listen how he uses a clutch in that corner. Right there, you hear that? You can't use the throttle control very much on a 125. You have to use the clutch and throttle. Notice how he disengages it and then re-engages it to control the speed through the corner. And here's Chance Hymas on a 450 Honda. Now listen, that's clutch, man. That's coming onto the clutch to get that power. He's in a high gear, and then he gets that power with the clutch and throttle to pull that gear out of the corner. Very fast on a 450. Here's Cochran again. Just listen. You can hear him using that clutch right there to engage the power. Yeah, Casey's got some work to do on his body positioning. He has a tendency to rotate his shoulders out of the corner, drops his outside arm. This happens occasionally to everyone when they suddenly get off balance in a corner, but obviously it shouldn't be your default technique. I think a lot of his problems on this bike is his handlebars are too high, so it's hard for him to overgrip and get his arms up. And he's compromising his body positioning. Even when he initiates a corner, he pushes the bike down and rotates his shoulders out of the corner. So he's got to clean that up. And yeah, he's got some work to do on that one. You notice in this corner, you'll see that his upper body is rotated way out of the corner instead of into the corner. In motocross, you're only as good as your last race. A serious motocross racer is always trying to improve.